Hey everybody!
Hello!
Happy 2020 again.
Here we are. We're not going anywhere.
Yeah, so our last episode was in February. Things got a little weird since then.
Yes, very weird.
Yeah, but you know, global changes, also personal changes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Location changes in my case.
Yes. So just so you know, Jill, I'm looking at office chairs that I'm going to just like send to your place because I am just going to basically move into your place for production.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah.
You can live in my library.
Okay. Oh, that'd be awesome. Good. You do realize now I'm picturing like the library from Beauty and the Beast.
That is what I strive for. But right now it is just a really small, like 9x9 room with one wall of bookcases.
Amazing. And actually, honestly, it sounds like a good start. Like it really does.
Think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I'm getting there.
All right. Yeah, so this is episode 10. We made it to the double digits.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It took a little longer than anticipated, but we're here now.
That's exciting.
Yes, yeah. Worth celebrating for sure. Yeah. I don't know. How do we usually start these?
Welcome to Maritime Supernatural Podcast. I'm Jill.
And I'm Chrissi.
And we're here to spookify you with our tales of spookiness.
Yes. It's May.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah. But, you know, like it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay.
I'm excited. We've got a couple of spooky tales to tell each other. And and I've heard that yours is a doozy.
Yes, it's definitely the longest one I've done. It's also very well known.
Oh.
I don't want to say cryptid, a spirit, I guess.
Okay.
We might as well just jump right into it.
Yeah, let's dive in. Let's dive into this.
So today I am going to be talking about the Wendigo.
I'm so excited. Oh my God.
This idea came from a dear friend and listener, Liam. He was like, hey, you should talk about the Wendigo. I'm like, yeah, but I'm not sure if that really like falls into our criteria for story. And then he was like, and he sent me like a little blurb from Wikipedia, and like the very first thing it says is like in Nova Scotia, and I'm like, okay. Oh, criteria met. Okay.
I'm excited. I've always really enjoyed like stories or games or anything like that have to do with the Wendigo. Like I think I even bought a D&D story, like a campaign or a session story about the Wendigo. So I'm like super ready to hear all you have to tell me about this creature.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's something else for sure. So I just want to preface this with like a little bit of a note. I will be using terms like lore and legend and tale. This is not to downplay the importance and significance to the heritage and the heritage of the people who share the Wendigo stories, but my own limits of vocabulary. I am not a professional researcher or journalist. I'm still very, very new to this. So if I say anything ignorant, by all means, contact me, let me know, and I will update you guys in the next episode. Like,
we're learning.
Like, yeah, like I understand that I will be talking about a spirit that is related to a culture that is still very much alive. So I do not want to cause anybody any kind of stress or grief. Also, trigger warning, obviously, if you guys know the story of the Wendigo, there's going to be a lot of talk of cannibalism. Also, killing of children and family members.
Whoa, this is a doozy.
Yes, yeah. So just heads up, maybe skip ahead to Jill's story if that's not your thing. Totally understandable. All right, the Wendigo. It is part of the First Nation Algonquin heritage. The Algonquin people were found pretty much all over the northern part of North America, specifically in the northeastern North America, around Atlantic, eastern Canada, and the US. So the Wendigo actually shares a lot of similarities to the Wet'suwet'en of the Athabascan people of the Northwest Pacific coast.
Okay.
However, whereas the Wendigo is considered like crazed and insane and insatiable, the Wet'suwet'en is enlightened with ancestral insights. Oh. So I think it'd be kind of neat. Maybe at some point I'll do like a part 2 of this, and like I might like dive into the Wet'suwet'en.
That would be really cool.
Yeah. The Wendigo is not only a spirit of murder, greed, and cannibalism, it's also very closely tied to the cold, gluttony, famine, starvation, loneliness, violence, self-destruction, and winter.
Wow.
Yes, yeah. So like just a lot of those really lonely feelings is tied very closely to the Wendigo.
It's interesting that you are covering this during a global pandemic where we are being forced to physically distance ourselves from other humans.
Oops. Didn't think of that.
Very topical, maybe.
I was like, oh, we're getting into the warmer months. Don't need to worry about the Wendigo. It's just like, oh, wait. Beans. Pulling at my collar.
Yeah. Okay.
It's fine. It's fine. The first Wendigo was believed to be a warrior who had sold his soul to a devil for awesome strength and stature to defeat his enemies in battle.
Oh my gosh.
When his tribe and family realized what he had done, he was banished to walk the cold earth alone, cursed with this insatiable hunger for human flesh.
Oh, that's brutal. So was it kind of like he was doing it for himself, or was he doing it to defend his people?
It's like it seems a little unclear about that.
Yeah, and it could be like one of those things where it might change depending on which source you're reading, because it happened so long ago.
I'm thinking like if this is a spirit of greed, it could very much have been like, oh well, I want to be feared and respected, and to do that, I defeat my enemies and I make my own people worship me. Like,
oh yeah, relatable.
Ojibwe teacher and scholar Basil H. Johnson describes the appearance of the Wendigo as gaunt to the point of emaciation, its desiccated skin pulled tightly over its bones. With its bones pushing out against its skin, its complexion the ash gray of death, and its eyes pushed back deep into their sockets, the Wendigo looked like a gaunt skeleton recently disinterred from the grave.
What
lips it had were tattered and bloody,
Ew.
unclean, and suffering from separation of the flesh. The Wendigo gave off a strange and eerie odor of decay and decomposition, of death and corruption.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, Basil? Basil, we got to get you on the line because you are a wordsmith.
Yeah, the tattered lips, I think, is what got me tattered.
Yeah. So I've also seen some descriptions as they're like they don't have any toes, or like the ends of their fingers are missing, and it's like
frostbite?
Like frostbite. Immediately, like my thought was like, oh, because these are the things that go first when you have severe frostbite. Also, if you are like dead in the woods, animals are more likely to eat at your like the looser skins, like the lips and around the eyes. Yeah,
like if we were eating lobster, we'd probably eat all the little legs and stuff first.
I guess so. Yes. Yeah. In many Algonquin cultures, Wendigo are also described as giants, constantly growing in proportion to every meal.
Oh.
In that way, they are seen as gluttonous and serially thin, on the brink of starvation due to never being full from a meal. Its hunger is constant, and even after killing and eating a human, it will start looking for its next victim immediately.
It sounds like me when I was like 13. Just like constantly eating and growing and then like looking for my next meal.
Yeah, honestly, there's definitely some parts of this that I'm just like, ooh, that one's hitting a little close to home.
Yeah.
Like, ooh.
Yeah.
Hooey.
Yeah.
So there's some different theories about how a Wendigo can come to be. You can become a Wendigo if you resort to cannibalism, even if it's to survive.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. Or if you practice extreme selfishness and greed. And these are the stories that were typically used as methods to encourage cooperation within a community.
Yes.
Which is totally understandable.
Yes.
Or if you are in contact with a Wendigo for too long, you can become one.
Oh, that's interesting. I wonder,
Yeah.
like, in what kind of contact you would have with a Wendigo.
See, I was thinking about this, and I feel like this is really important, a really important discussion about toxic relationships. Because if you are very close to somebody who is greedy and selfish and who is hurting you, well, yes, you need to get away from that person, even if you love them very, very much, because your own soul will get corrupted by that person.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's good insight. Yeah.
Yeah, I have been thinking about Wendigos a lot.
They're fascinating. Like it's such a rich cultural what am I trying to say? Point? Like a cultural
Yeah, a wellspring.
wellspring of knowledge. Yes, I love it.
Yes. Yeah, so some cultures will perform a ceremonial dance during times of famine to remind members of their community the dangers of succumbing to greed and cannibalism. So even to this day, there's a lot of fear about becoming a Wendigo or like accidentally summoning one.
Yes, yeah.
There is some debate as to how the Wendigo move. Some say it is unnaturally fast and can endure walking for a long time.
Oh, I just got a chill run up my spine at that.
Yeah. See, I'm like, if Wendigo were once human, it makes sense that they'd be able to walk a long time because that's how we are apex hunters, is that we have incredible stamina. Like human, like for our size, like we shouldn't have to rest as little as we do, basically.
Okay,
like we can go for a long period of time with very little amount of sleep.
Arnell and I proved that that last week when we were moving house.
Yes. Yeah. Like we need to like catch up on it later, obviously, but
yeah.
yes. Yeah.
We borrowed a lot of relaxing.
A lot of time.
A lot of time.
Yeah.
We borrowed a lot. Yeah.
So well, some people say that it's very fast and can endure walking for a long time. Others describe its movements as slow and shambling.
Oof. Well, I'm assuming there'd be different ones. You know, like
it
wouldn't just, different Wendigo would be born from different people.
See, I'm like, different people becoming Wendigo, but also like a new young Wendigo versus like somebody who's been a Wendigo for a very long time. Yeah, if you're starving, eventually you're gonna like start slowing down. Yeah. However, it is relatively agreed upon that the Wendigo's main method of hunting is to mimic the sound of human voices, often sounding like someone hurt or in need of help, to lure people away from their home and family and into dangerous territory where they will be trapped and eaten.
Oh, I love mimicry and like doppelgangery stuff.
Yes.
So this is like, so
and
good.
Again, I feel like this ties very closely into this being a spirit of selfishness, because what is more selfish than taking somebody who just wants to help? Like taking somebody who is reaching out to you of the goodness of their heart and taking advantage of them. Like, that is so selfish. And it's like, yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Wendigo also possess human intelligence and are able to unlock and open doors and windows. There are tales. There are tales of.
We're all stuck at home and we can't even feel safe.
Oh, you just moved into a house, so you're like on the front, like the ground floor and everything.
I have tons of windows and doors to unlock. That's awful.
Meanwhile, I'm up on my 4th floor, like a
Get me now, Wendigo.
I don't want you tempted if I jump up to my window. I'm like, ah, fuck. Just slap it down to the ground.
No, that's terrifying. Things in windows is definitely the thing that scares me the most out of anything horror related.
Yeah.
So the thought of like being on the 4th floor and looking out your window and there's a face looking back at you is awful.
I literally sleep with my blinds closed for exactly this reason, because I'm so terrified. And like I get a lot of pigeons on my windowsill, and so it's like the amount of times I'm laying there and I can hear something. I can hear something like outside my window, like unless that pigeon is actively cooing, I'm like, this is it. Like I'm dead now.
Here.
It's here. Although I do really like the image of me taunting a Wendigo and then it jumps up and I just like instinctively slap it down to the ground.
That would be very good. What a relief.
It's like the only way I can get through.
Yeah, emaciated, scrawny,
hungry. Slap down by my.
You asshole.
Just looks at me like hurt. I'm like, oh, sorry. Yeah, it's instinct. So getting back to my next sentence, which there are tales of them entering cabins to feast on the occupants. And then using the cabin to hibernate during the warmer months.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
During the warmer months?
Yeah, because it's a spirit
creature.
of cold. Yeah.
So it goes to like the summer home, eats the occupants, and enjoys the summer home, but doesn't even use it like a summer home.
No, yeah, it just sleeps through it. Selfish. Selfishness.
That is so selfish. This family was so excited to go enjoy their jet ski and go out on their wharf and enjoy the warm water of the summer, and they get eaten, and the Wendigo doesn't even have the decency to enjoy what it just wrought. Oh my gosh.
So most of the documented sightings were reported between 1800 and the 1920s, which coincidentally lines up to the Industrial Revolutions, which was a time of expansion, of a lot of greed, a lot of destruction of the environment. Like,
we're still feeling that now.
Yes, we're still definitely feeling that right now.
Yeah.
A Wendigo reportedly made appearances in the Minnesotan town of Rousseau during these years. And after every reported appearance, there was an unexpected death in the community. No one is quite sure why the Wendigo kept coming back, but the last report was in 1920.
Wow.
Yeah.
Were the deaths like connected at all? Like, was it like the greedy people in the town or anything?
They didn't say anything about it. It's just an unexpected death. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I guess it would have been the innocent people in the town trying to help someone.
Probably,
that's sad. That's sad. Okay.
Kenora in Southwest Ontario holds the title of Wendigo Capital of the World. Oh. To this day, it still has frequent sightings in and around the city.
No.
Yeah.
Where in Ontario?
Kenora.
How far of a drive is it?
Honestly, I'm like, man, we gotta do like a Canada-wide tour one of these years.
I know.
And yeah, I definitely want to check out Kenora. In autumn of 2019, Gino Mikas was hunting grouse with his wife and young grandson in northwest Ontario, 50 kilometers from the nearest town, when they suddenly heard a crying out from the woods around them. The sounds baffle local biologists to this day, with their closest guest being grizzly bears, despite that there being no known documentation of grizzly bears in this area.
Right, because they're mostly out west.
Yes, yeah. I think they're out west. Also, they're more south than that. Like you are getting like pretty close to like polar bear territory,
Right.
but they don't make noises like this. Like
Okay.
the only reason why they think grizzly bear is because that is the only animal they could think of that can vocalize like this.
Oh my
It is widely speculated that the sounds may be a Wendigo by locals now.
Yeah.
So Mikas was able to capture the sounds on video as his wife picks up their grandson, who is mimicking the sounds, and rushes to their car. So I'm going to play that. So you're going to hear the toddler. He's like maybe like 2, like 1.5, 2,
Right.
as well as the grandmother in there as well.
Whoa. Oh my god, it almost sounds like a huge lion or something. Oh my god. Like, it
Yeah.
sounds huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely get out of there. If I heard anything like that, I would be like, see ya.
Yes, yeah, no, for sure. Like my blood ran cold when this came up. For those who want to watch the video, it's just called "Strange Unknown Noise Caught on Video" on YouTube. It's posted by Stargell Blackstar. Definitely check it out. It is haunting. Yeah, so that is like the most substantial quote unquote sighting of modern time.
Yes.
So, Wendigo also lends its name to the controversial medical term Wendigo psychosis. This psychosis is described as having an intense craving for human flesh, as well as the intense fear of becoming a Wendigo.
Whoa, I had not heard of this before.
Yeah. Some cultures will also tie in insatiable greed and environmental destruction into the symptoms. So,
Okay.
yeah, it depends on where you are. Like, sometimes those will be tied in.
It's interesting that environmental destruction is one of them as well. Like,
Yes.
It's such a wide encompassing creature. Like,
Yeah.
it has so many facets to it. It's not just hey, this is a cannibal creature. There's like
Yeah.
all these different aspects to it.
I've seen a lot of comparison between the Wendigo and like colonists and early European settlers, and how their behavior ended up kind of forming new thoughts and opinions about the Wendigo kind of thing. Yes, yeah, and I'm like, yeah, no, I can definitely agree
Yeah.
with that assessment.
Definitely.
Like there is a lot of greed and murder
Yeah.
and just
Environmental destruction.
environmental destruction,
And yes.
dehumanization of people who are already in Canada.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was getting at earlier that although, cannibals do exist all around the world, the Wendigo psychosis is generally seen as a culture-bound psychosis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, meaning it's relatively unheard of outside of cultures and communities where the Wendigo lore plays an important role.
Yeah, that makes sense though, because why would someone who didn't know about a Wendigo have the symptom of fearing becoming one?
Yes, yeah. Or like becoming a monster, like an actual
Yeah.
literal monster.
Yeah.
Because that's like that I was also reading up on other symptoms. Like if you develop Wendigo psychosis, like you'll literally see yourself becoming a monster. Like
Holy.
yes,
crap.
yeah, it is terrifying.
Yeah, that would suck.
Yeah. However, there are still many well-known and documented cases. The earliest documented case was logged by French colonials in 1661. In the Jesuit relations. So keep in mind this is some text that was translated from just really old French, so the wording is a little clunky, so we'll go over it and explain what is happening. Okay. What caused us greater concern was the intelligence that met us upon entering the lake, namely that the men deputed by our conductor for the purpose of summoning the nations to the North Sea and assigning them a rendezvous where they were to await our coming, had met their death the previous winter in a very strange manner. Those poor men, according to the report given us, were seized with an ailment unknown to us, but not very unusual among the people we were seeking. They are afflicted with neither lunacy, hypochondria, nor frenzy, but have a combination of all these species of disease, which affects their imaginations and causes them a more than canine hunger. This makes them so ravenous for human flesh that they pounce upon women, children, and even upon men like veritable werewolves and devour them voraciously without being able to appease or glut their appetite, ever seeking fresh prey, and the more greedily the more they eat.
What the heck?
This ailment attacked our deputies, and as death is the sole remedy among those simple people for checking such acts of murder, they were slain in order to stay the course of their madness.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So a little bit of casual racism in there. Sorry.
Yeah.
They were French people in 1661. But yeah, so what happened is that the French sent out some scouts to find these Algonquin people to be able to develop trade relationships with them.
Yeah.
And at some point, these men, like the French men that were sent out, they succumbed to cannibalism. They attacked each other. They attacked the people, like the Algonquin people. And the Algonquin people found that the only way to stop them was to kill them.
Yeah, of course.
Yes, which is understandable.
If you're getting attacked, you gotta defend yourself. Holy crap.
Yo, if like some crazy stranger is attacking the women, children, and even the men.
Even the men. Even nobody's safe. Not even the men.
Oh my God. Why would they do that? The women I can understand.
But the men.
The men. Oh. God. Whatever. It's fine. It's fine. It's okay. Anyway, if somebody was attacking people of their community, yeah, of course they're gonna be like, nah, dog, like, bye.
Yeah, you
get gone.
Or get dead.
Yeah.
2 options.
Another famous case of Wendigo psychosis was in winter of 1878. Swift Runner, a Cree Plains trapper in Alberta, lost his eldest son to starvation.
Oh.
Swift Runner ended up butchering and eating his wife and 5 remaining children despite being only 25 miles from emergency food supplies at a Hudson's Bay Company post. Due to his extreme actions and the fact that he was within traveling distance to supplies, he was deemed to be suffering from Wendigo psychosis and executed at Fort Saskatchewan.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So it's like, 25 miles, like, obviously that is a very long way to go, especially like this happened in winter, like in the dead of winter. But it's also like
to eat all of them.
Yeah, to immediately butcher and eat all
His
7.
entire family.
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
Yes, yeah. In 1907, OG Cree chief and medicine man Jack Fiddler and his brother Joseph were arrested by Canadian European authorities. Jack was known for his powers to defeat Wendigo, which also involved killing those believed to be afflicted with Wendigo psychosis, and was therefore being charged with homicide. Jack ended up escaping and committing suicide.
No.
Yeah, and although Joseph was ultimately pardoned, Joseph was tried and found guilty and had a life sentence. He was actually pardoned pretty quickly afterwards. He did end up dying of jail in tuberculosis three days after his trial, and before news of his pardon reached officials to release him.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so that's extremely sad.
That is sad and, awful.
It sounds like Joseph just kind of got mixed up in his brother's doings. I also saw reports that his brother, Jack Fiddler, he lost another brother to a Wendigo, Wendigo psychosis, and that is how he got started doing this.
Ah, crap.
Yes, yeah. In the 1980s, the phenomenon faced controversy. Many researchers argued that it was that the psychosis and the reports of psychosis were the result of early colonials' naivete, believing everything they were told about a culture they didn't understand at all. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, some argued that with all the known documented cases, it is impossible to outright deny the psychosis as a reality. Mm-hmm. It is worth mentioning, however, that as European populations grew and became the dominant culture in Canada and North America, and more Algonquin people subsequently integrated into the European settlements, there have been fewer reported cases of the psychosis.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Now for a couple of just fun facts. The Wendigo, obviously, like you mentioned, video games and stuff, has made a lot of appearances in media. It actually also appeared in Marvel Comics' The Incredible Hulk number 162 in April of 1973, where it is seen fighting both the Hulk and a character who would later become Wolverine.
Oh.
Yeah. So it's like Wolverine. It's Wolverine's first unofficial appearance in Marvel Comics.
Interesting.
Yes. Yeah. It also appeared in DuckTales in a Christmas special called Last Christmas. However, due to the show being for such a young audience, Wendigos were described as poor souls turned into monsters by obsession and desperation, with no mention of cannibalism.
Right.
They're like, sweep that part under the rug.
Yeah, sometimes you got to do that with kids' cartoons.
Yes, yeah. But yeah, so that is the Wendigo of North America.
So earlier we were saying the only cure or the only way to stop a Wendigo is, and then the answer is just to kill it. To kill it, yes. So one of the websites I got the information from was How Stuff Works. And they had this like buck wild werewolf style killing like instruction where it's like you need a silver bullet or a silver dagger. If you really gotta a steel dagger dipped in silver or like with a silver coating will do. And it's like, and then you like pierce the heart and you take the heart out and you shatter it and put it in a box and you bury that in a churchyard and then you cut up the Wendigo and you salt and burn it. And like every other story was just like, nah, you just kill it. just kill it, man.
Yeah,
you just gotta kill it.
It's tough, but it goes any other way an animal goes, really.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. So that's that.
Wow, that was awesome. Thank you for sharing that with me. That was really interesting.
Yes, yeah, it was a lot of fun. Like, honestly, probably the easiest notes I've ever done. Is just that there's so much that it's like, okay, am I repeating myself or like, am I putting my notes in a good order? Like, I ended up just even skipping around like a little bit in my bullet points, but
yes,
yeah.
No, that's really interesting.
Yeah. So Wendigo, don't do a cannibal.
Don't do don't do that.
I know it's desperate times, but we're not there yet.
Yeah, we're not there yet. The grocery stores are still open.
Yes. So. Good luck finding yeast, but
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do I want to introduce this?
I'm so excited.
Okay, so we've talked about like ghost horses before, right?
Yeah.
This is about a ghost dog.
For some reason, I thought you were going to say ghost duck, but ghost
Oh,
dog is
I'll
very
try.
good.
I'll look for that another time.
The ghostly quacks of the ghost duck. The duck quacks at midnight.
I like how neither of our sounds are very much duck-like.
Have you guys never heard a duck before?
Moo. Okay. So, I found this story on a website called caretakersparanormalinvestigations.blogspot.com.
Ooh.
Blogspot, you heard me right. Anyway, so this story was submitted by someone named Sherry L.
Thank you, Sherry L.
Yeah, we are mooching off your story.
Yeah.
So this one takes place in Londonderry in Nova Scotia. It's a small town and everyone knows everybody else and all their business and everything. And the first part of our story takes place like over 100 years ago. So like before we had cars and stuff. So this man had a dog, as you do. Mm-hmm. And he was in this small town and he was running late. So they were in a horse and buggy and he brought his dog with him, as you do. You know, the dog was probably sticking its head out the window, enjoying the ride. And he was running late. So the man was whipping the horse and urging the horse to go faster. And unfortunately, the wagon on this old gravel road flipped over and it killed the man and it killed the dog.
No.
And I'm assuming it killed the horse too, but who knows? Maybe the horse survived.
I'm going to hold out hope for the horse.
We'll hold out, you know, if you're out there, horse, let us know.
Yeah, right in.
100 and something years old.
Definitely right in, because obviously you are some kind of undead or like a everlasting spirit.
Everlasting spirit, yeah. So apparently the wagon rolled over several times, and on one of the flips, the wheel crushed the dog's neck, creating a headless dog ghost. What I found kind of weird about the story, though, is that none of these stories that kind of spur off of this original story have a headless dog. Like, all the dogs have a head. So I wasn't sure why it was so specific that the dog's head got crushed off. But here we are. So I don't know how much later, a young woman, was walking out alone at night, which is very good for social distancing.
Mm-hmm. Good job, lady.
Yeah. And maybe she needed it back then, because maybe this was around the Spanish flu time. Who knows?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, she was walking alone at night down a familiar road to her. And as I said before, this town, everyone knew everybody else and everyone knew each other's pets and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. So she looked down at something that was kind of down around her legs. And she saw this dog that she did not recognize. And she said when she looked at its eyes, they were spinning around in its head like a child's top.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Put that away. Yeah. Put that dog away.
That scared me. One thing I find about old stories is that their comparisons often make me feel uneasy because they're so strange.
Yes.
Like, I'm curious that if I were to see whatever that woman saw, how would I describe it? Like, I'm sure I wouldn't say they were spinning around in its head like a child's top. Like, that's not something that I would compare to.
My immediate reaction would be, like what you'd see in a cartoon if, like, a character spun really fast and then suddenly stopped. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and the eyes keep going.
And the eyes would keep going, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and like make that rattle sound.
I do have a friend from college who told me about how he tried shrooms for the first time, and like him and his friends were like, "Oh, let's go get donuts from Tim Hortons," and he was like wasn't really feeling anything, But then he
Yeah.
got there, and the person behind the counter, he was looking at her, and her eyes were spinning like the way that you just described. So I'm just like,
Oh.
wait a second.
Oh my God. Maybe this woman was on shrooms.
Yeah, maybe that's why she was out for a walk, just trying to clear her head.
Enjoying her shrooms.
Yeah.
So the woman said, after seeing this sight, she said she never forgot it all of her life. And that night she screamed her way home and never walked that road in the dark again.
Oh, honey. Oh,
Yeah.
no. That's a sin.
So, yeah. So fast forward maybe like 40 years or so. Maybe 40 or 50 years. Maybe more. I'm not sure. So we're talking about 1968 now.
Mm-hmm.
So Sherry L., the person who wrote in, she's telling her story from 1968. And at the time, she was a teenager, and she was heading home on Christmas. So she was walking through the snow, and she was walking near the road. And I think it was, probably the same or near the same road as the other Mrs. story was.
Mm-hmm.
And as she was walking along, she felt something brushing up against her leg.
It was not Wendigo.
When she looked down, yeah, not a Wendigo this time. When she looked down, she saw a dog she didn't recognize. And so even then in 1968, it was still just a small town. Everyone knows everybody else. Everyone's up in everybody's business. And you would not see a pet you didn't recognize.
Yeah.
So she sees this strange dog. And obviously she was a little bit off-put by this. So she bent down to pick up a snowball. And in that moment, the dog disappeared.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming she was going to pick up a snowball to probably like throw it for the dog, maybe distract the dog, or maybe she was going to throw it at the dog to scare it away. I'm not sure. But in that moment, when she reached down to get some snow, she looked and the dog was completely gone.
Whoa. I am picturing just like a little chihuahua right now. Just tiny little chihuahua in the snow with the spinning eyes. It's just like...
I feel like that'd be way less scary.
Yeah. This is how I
It's
cope,
like,
Jill.
You. So after this experience, she went home, and I don't know if she even spoke to her family about it. But years later, her little sister did a paper on the dog. She went and interviewed the elderly lady in the town to get that first story about her dog experience.
Oh, wow. Okay, so yeah, it really was recent that like the original story happened.
Yeah, so like the original story would have happened like over 100 years ago from now. And then in 1968, the second story happened.
Okay.
And probably that same year, her little sister was interviewed the older lady about her experience. And Sherry was able to put two and two together from the dog's description that they sounded like the same bull terrier. The one thing she said was that she was glad she didn't look into its eyes.
Sherry, why did you add that? That's so creepy.
So yeah, I really wanted to look around this time to see if there was anything. Like I just kind of got it in my head. I wanted to see if there were any ghost dogs around. Because have you ever heard the song or about the creature, the Black Shuck? There's a song that The Darkness does about this dog that was like terrorizing a monastery or something.
I have heard of the what's it called? Harry Potter had it in there too.
Right, yeah. The Grimm, was it?
The Grimm, yes. Yeah, because
I think it's a similar tale.
And like I have heard of ghost dogs because for a very long time it was believed that the first body buried in a cemetery would be basically stuck on Earth helping to shepherd all the other spirits of people buried there to the afterlife. So because they didn't want to curse a human to this, a lot of the times a dog was buried in the cemetery first. Yeah.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah. And from what I understand, stories like the Grimm are stories of dogs who were killed maliciously or like violently for this process of burying them first.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's like, yeah, no, you didn't want to be violent towards a dog to do this.
No.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I was thinking more along the lines of like the story of where they'll bury the owner and then the dog, and then they see the ghost dog like sitting next to the grave of the owner or something like that, like for all eternity, just always there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my little short story about this spooky dog with the spinny eyes.
Oh, well, what is the song that you were talking about?
Oh, it's called Black Shuck
Black
by The Darkness. Yeah,
which is
it's
a great
about,
band.
like, I love that first album they put out was so good.
It's so good.
Yeah. But yeah, so give that a listen at some point.
Yeah,
it's like my favorite one of their songs.
Mm-hmm.
Because it kind of tells a story more so than just being about like venereal disease. So it's like, you know, it's like, it's really good.
Awesome.
It's really growing on me. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Very good.
Oh, and don't we have actually a listener story, or should we save that for our next episode?
No, I kind of want to get back into this with like a good running start. So like this is definitely becoming our longest episode to date, but I'm cool with that.
All right.
I don't start my new job for another week, so I'm fine.
Okay. Okay.
I can edit this.
Okay.
Yeah, do you want to read it or do you want me to read it?
It doesn't matter to me. What would you prefer? Are you tired of
No,
speaking, or?
I can definitely do this. I already have it open,
Okay.
so I can do this.
All right. Thank you. I'm kind of excited because I'm enjoying hearing you tell me stuff.
Yeah. I like reading stuff out loud, so I'm glad I get to do it.
This is the perfect combo.
What a match.
What a match. Made in heaven.
So this is from our friend and friend to the show, Kai. And Kai says, Thank you, Kai. Kai says, hello, Jill and Chrissy. I'm here with some not terribly thrilling ghost ship stories, which, Kai, that sentence is an oxymoron.
I know. I'm already excited.
Ghost stories, ghost stories in general, but ghost ship stories are like basically the whole reason why we started this podcast. So
it's true. That was one of the original things that we were talking about when we wanted to start this podcast.
Yes.
Ghost ships. I don't even think we really talked much about ghost ships yet, actually. Have we?
I did. I think I did like a little
you did a
something.
Little thing.
We
should
actually
up our game after this.
Yes, yeah. So the episode was specifically on the phantom ship of the Northumberland Strait, which is actually the subject of this email. So I have a feeling that's what this was going to be about.
I'm excited. Okay.
I want to preface this by saying these are stories I've heard secondhand. I've unfortunately never witnessed the ghost ship myself.
Okay.
Both of these sightings were from a place called Big Island in Pictou County, overlooking the Northumberland Strait. For a bit of context, in case you're not familiar with the area, Big Island was part of Mi'kmaq land. It is now 80% public rocky beach and 20% farmland. And it has a lot of weird, spooky shit that happens. There are spirit faces in boulders, men within trees, white phantom ghosts, etc. Although I only know tiny bits and pieces, not like tangible stories or anything. So, Kai, I think we are probably going to end up doing a little deep dive into Big Island.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Anywho, my dad told me this story quite a few times. He did pass away in 2010, hence all of the past tense. He frequently would drive or boat out to Big Island and just wander around, enjoying a quiet night before going home after work to wind down. When he was about 20 years old, he went out on an evening like usual, except this time he was spooked by a sudden and very loud boom of thunder that came out of seemingly nowhere. It was overcast, but definitely not storm clouds. When he looked back to the water, there was a huge four-mast schooner calmly drifting by, its entire hull and sails on fire. He swore there were people writhing, flailing, and screaming as they jumped overboard, and he was ready to run back to his boat for help if it weren't for the fact that there was no sound whatsoever.
Oh my God,
No waves.
I would shit my pants.
Yeah, no waves chopped by the ship or crackling fire or the sound of men yelling. It was totally quiet, just seagulls and the water lapping at the rocks.
Oh my God.
Good call, Kai's dad, because I that wouldn't cross my mind for a second. I would be like, oh God, gotta help, gotta call 911. Like,
I would just think I wouldn't hear anything over my screams.
yes, yeah, or like I don't know if anybody else gets this, but when I get really scared, my ears will just start buzzing really loudly.
Oh my God.
Because my blood pressure will suddenly just rise.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, yeah. So I would just assume that I'm not hearing anything because there's a bunch of blood in my ears.
Yeah. Totally normal.
And
Blood
totally
in my ears.
It's fine.
Full of blood.
Doctor, what?
Oh my God.
So he told me he just sat there watching for minutes on end as this phantom ship slowly in its chaos silently dipped into the water. And that he just sat in his own silence trying to figure out what he had just witnessed.
Oh my God.
He never told anyone until years later when another friend of his mentioned their own sighting because he didn't want to sound insane. However, he was so entranced by the ghost ship that he kept going back to the same spot nearly every night, every summer, hoping to see it once more, and he never did see it again.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Yes.
Holy
wow.
crap.
That I've got goosebumps. Like my
too.
blood is running cold from that. That's terrifying.
I think like it was scary, but as soon as they said that it was quiet,
Yeah.
is when
when all of my hair just like raised. Like, oh.
Yeah. I don't know why it's so much scarier. Like, I feel like hearing it would obviously be really traumatizing in its own right, but like it's so unnatural for such a tragic incident to be so silent, I guess.
Yeah, well, like you're looking at it and it's obvious chaos.
Yeah.
Like it's terrifying. But then the fact that it's quiet, like, oof. And I mean, like it was preceded by that loud boom.
True. So was it was an explosion, I'm assuming.
I'm guessing that's what it was, and it was just like an explosion on the ship. And when we originally talked about the ghost ship of the Northumberland Strait, I did mention that even if multiple people are looking out onto the same body of water, it will only show itself to certain people.
Oof.
So to me, that boom was like, hey, Kai's dad, look at us. Like,
oh my God.
We want you to witness this. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So Kai continues, a family friend of mine has his cottage on the entrance road to Big Island. It's really a peninsula, and would spend his summers there. One day, he, his wife, his mother-in-law, his 4 daughters, and 1 son were picnicking on the beach in the middle of the day when one of his young daughters noticed this huge 4-mast ship and started screaming for help. The ship was entirely engulfed in flames, and there were very visible crew members jumping overboard or falling from the masts into the water. Again, there was no sound.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Did Kai say if only that little girl saw it?
Kai doesn't say, but like I'm guessing that their friend must have also seen it to be able to like relay it, because
Right.
I don't know if this little girl would have been able to like of course I don't know how old the little girl is, but
True.
yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That is so freaky.
According to him, it was a completely clear, sunny blue day, but the water was scarily choppy and violent. He also had heard plenty of stories about the ghost ship before, so he told his oldest daughter to grab her camera as fast as she could. She ran back with 2 brand new disposable cameras. This was early 2000s. And gave one to him, and the 2 of them took as many pictures as they could and filled up both cameras. Then all 8 of them watched as the ship slowly and quietly sank under the angry waves. By the end of the week, he was able to go into town and get all of the photos developed. Later, he has shown me as well. There were 2 thick white envelopes of about 50 pictures. Every single one of them was the same thing, just a calm, clear blue sky and unnaturally violent waves.
Oh, man.
But yeah, feel free to use whatever you want from these stories. Most spooky stories I know are from word of mouth and mostly snippets because my memory is bad and I can't say I've ever encountered something that was like a ghost ship or anything particularly bad. Hope these help a little bit. Can't wait to hear what's next in the podcast. Kai, thank you so much, Kai. Like, oh my God, that was so good.
That was good. I can't believe they both saw the same thing.
Yeah, seriously.
Or like, well, multiple people in the second story. Like, just all these different people kind of seeing that exact same thing. And like, it sounds from different vantage points as well.
Yes, yeah, for sure. Yeah, and like, I feel like that would just confirm Kai's dad's story, like, because it's so similar, right? Like, Kai's dad's story, like, you know, it was overcast, but it wasn't stormy. And like, you know, like the middle of the day for their friend, like, wow.
That was so good.
That was so good. I'm going to be thinking about that forever. We got to see this ghost ship, Jill.
I know. Oh my gosh. That would be incredible.
Yes. Oh gosh. Yeah, so I think that's episode 10.
Yeah, that was a good one. We had our longest episode.
Yeah,
it's double digit.
Yeah, over an hour. So I hope folks like this. I actually really like doing long episodes, and I'm hoping that I will be able to find something that is as fun to research as the Wendigo for next time.
Yeah. I hope I find something good too.
Yes.
We'll do our best.
Yes, for sure. I really want to make sure to thank Daniel Luke for the intro music. I realized after I set the last episode, you know, out onto the world, we forgot to mention him. So
oh no!
Daniel Luke is an amazing artist, animator, composer, and friend. Like I said, he is the one responsible for our intro music. If you want to find more of his work, you can find it at webbot15.com. That's WEBBOT15.com. Definitely check him out. If you want to find us online, you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at MSN Podcast. And you can find all of our episodes on YouTube at Maritime Supernatural Podcast. And you can find us on Spotify. I'm guessing you already know this. You've got to be listening to us somewhere. I swear someday I'm going to get us out on more platforms. I'm just a total goober.
I'm a dream.
I'm a total goober and keep forgetting to sign us up for things.
Our 100th episode special
we're
is
finally on iTunes.
Getting on Apple. Yeah. We've made the big time.
We did it. We've got our own website now. It's a blogspot.
Yeah. Shout out to Blogspot.
Shout out to Blogspot, our sponsor, Blogspot.
Oh, I wish.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm gonna plug my own Twitter. You can find me at Chrissi Pumpkin pretty much everywhere online. Do you want to plug yourself?
Sure.
Plug yourself, Jill.
I'm gonna plug me real good. You can find me on Twitter at JillFog, JILLFOG. And you can also check out my role-playing game related stuff over on College of Lore Role-Playing.
Yes, definitely check
YouTube
them out.
And Twitch and all that fun stuff. So yeah, College of Lore Role-Playing.
Yeah, Jill and Kate are much better than I am at updating social media. So I'm sure that if you were to go onto the MSN Podcast Twitter, there will be like recent retweets that I've done because I'm just like, oh look, they're doing stuff, and I'll just like retweet. Never mind updating our own fans of our own product.
Social media is hard.
It's so hard.
It doesn't sound like it's that hard, but like trying to post even once a week is difficult.
Yeah, seriously. Like I honestly have gained so much respect for people who do social media as a career.
I know.
It is very difficult.
It is. It's harder than I thought. So if you guys want to help us out, feel free to retweet or share, communicate with us on social media so that we have a reason to go on there and promote ourselves.
Honestly, the most exciting thing and the thing that gets me excited about updating our social media is when people are talking to me. So give me attention and remind me to do my responsibilities. All right. So that's episode 10. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Oh, you can email us.
Oh, yeah. Please email us.
Email us.
Getting that email from Kai, like, made my year.
Oh, it's
this
adrenaline.
Year sucks, but, like, Kai has made my year 10 times better.
Yeah. Kai, like, is an amazing, they're a hero, and they're the hero
we need.
They've single-handedly saved 2020 for us.
Yes, they have. Thank you, Kai.
And you can be a hero of 2022 by emailing us at maritimesupernatural@gmail.com. All one word, no punctuation except where you would expect it in an email. That's the @ and the dot. So yeah, we're looking forward to reading your email on air. Thank you for listening. And hey, rip in peace.
Love you.
All right.
I'm going to stop recording.
Oh, yeah. How do I stop? Okay.